Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Aligned. Erin here, and I'm really excited about this episode because I'm someone who comes from a very scientific background, scientific in the sense that I was the kind of person who only believed in science. Let me put it that way. I grew up very much atheist, I would say. I mean, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and that is what pushed me into atheism. But most of my life, up until I was probably 23 and had my own sort of spiritual awakening, rock bottom experience, I didn't really believe in anything. I thought the purpose of life was to reproduce, pass on our genes, and die. So, what I love is now having completely blown up that worldview and found my way into spirituality. I love when we can find a bridge between the two because I don't think that there's ever one way of looking at the world. And I don't believe that it's science that answers the meaning of life question, nor do I think that spirituality alone can get us there either. And I don't think these worlds have to exist separately, but they want to come together. And our guest today is living proof of that integration in action. So, Dr. Michael Napolitano is a functional medicine doctor, energy healer, and ketamine therapist based in Southern California. We have an incredible story of how we got connected, which we share in this episode. But what makes him such a powerful guest is not just what he does, but who he is. So Michael's a 2/4 manifesting generator, and his entire life has been shaped by pivots and spiritual awakenings and really just like an unshakable trust in his intuition, even when that means burning everything down, burning a life down, burning a career down, and starting from scratch. So, in this conversation, we dive into his journey from traditional psychiatric residency, one that nearly cost him his life, to creating really a new paradigm of healing that blends Western medicine, energy work, and psychedelic therapy together. So, in this episode, he'll share what ketamine has taught him about consciousness, why Reiki is in his toolkit, and how human design has helped him realize he was already living his truth. So, anyways, I'm just really stoked about this episode. I'm stoked about how tangible it is. You know, Michael doesn't just talk about intuition or authenticity as concepts, but he shows us what that embodiment really is. So, yeah, if you've ever felt like your path didn't make sense until you looked back and reflected, or if you've ever wondered whether there's, a smarter, more spiritually attuned way to approach healing, one that doesn't involve prescription meds, then this episode is for you. So, without further ado, I'll let y'all get into it. How's your weekend been?
It's been all right. It was raining yesterday, so I didn't really do much. I did a ketamine session with Jessica and one of her clients. So not her, she didn't do it, but
Right.
a friend, her, I guess one of her clients did it, and I was there kind of doing that. So it was really interesting having the three of us in that room
Ah,
working
so
on it.
Jessica was there like working on the
Yeah,
client?
yeah.
Interesting.
And
So
I
what was
was
that
and
like?
I was doing the ketamine. It was like we were tag teaming the session. It was really interesting.
What did you feel was different or like stood out to you about that experience?
I think it really was cool because she would like go at it in a certain direction, like what she was reading, and then I would go in with what I was reading. So we were both picking up on very similar things, but we would say it in a different way. So she was getting two different perspectives on the same idea, or we'd see her energy in the same way, but then we can interpret it in different ways. It was really interesting. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. I love seeing all of these things that I love, like modalities and healing tools, as well as like people that I love, all starting to come together and tag team and create magic.
Well, it all works together. That's the thing. It all works together. And I think what we don't realize is, we try to put everything in a box like, oh, this is psychic, this is medical, this is psychedelic, this is the, and it's like, it's all the human body, mind, body, spirit,
Yeah.
you know?
I love this because I feel like you're the person who's here to break that box and
Oh, yeah.
to have like stepped into all the different containers in one and be like, we can do it all and there's room for all of this.
That's what I was actually on a walk the other day and I had a download on because I was originally just going to do ketamine and I'm like, I'm going to do this whole thing. And then I'm like, no, it's going to be mind, which is, the psychedelics, body, which is going to be the functional medicine, actual Eastern medicine aspect of it, and then spirit, energy healing. And it's going to be all one. I can do all three in the
Yeah.
same thing. And it's really cool. It's really,
I
really
love
cool.
I love that. Um yeah, so maybe we can just have you quickly introduce yourself, who you are today, how you show
Okay.
up in the world today. And then we can talk more about where you came from and how you actually got here. But we can start off with the
Yeah.
basics.
Awesome. So right now, what I'm doing, I'm in Southern California and I'm a functional medicine doctor, went to medical school, did the whole thing. Um, and what I do now is primarily functional medicine as well as ketamine therapy for depression, anxiety, chronic pain, that kind of thing. And then I also do energy healing, Reiki, kind of mixed in with all that. Kind of not sure how I'm going to incorporate all that into the same practice, but I've I've done Reiki during ketamine sessions with patients. I've done Reiki on separate patients, and it seems like it can fix a lot more than I expected, and it all starts to tie together. So that's kind of my practice right now. Um, Kind of figuring out where I want to go because I originally went into it thinking functional medicine, and then the ketamine kind of branched off of that, and now the Reiki's branching off of that, and so I kind of just do a whole bunch of a lot of things.
I love that. And I want to share the story of how we got connected because I feel like that is just incredibly divine and classic fourth line, like
Yep,
network shit.
very
But so
synchronistic.
Jessica, as you mentioned her name earlier, Jessica was on the podcast right as we were getting started. And I think she might have been episode 4. And she goes into her incredible story of what she's overcome and, the life that she's lived and survived to get her to where she is now with her incredible psychic gifts and energetic gifts and all that good stuff. Um, but it was funny, actually. I had a session with Jessica. I guess it would have been because we launched the podcast a little over a year ago. So maybe a year and a half ago, I had a session with Jessica. And she was just like picking up on podcast. And I had already, like, the seed had already been planted. I knew that I wanted to do it. And then, of course, she was like that affirmation of like, okay, don't fuck around anymore. Like,
Yeah, of
let's do it now. As she does, right?
course.
And anyways, so I've introduced Jessica to this community before. And I think everyone who's like close to me has heard of or already done sessions with Jessica. Like, I think I've
Yeah.
referred so many people to her, dozens and
Oh,
dozens of people to her,
she,
because
yeah, she
again,
told
she's
me.
one of those people like on my team where I'm like, I trust her and she can be such an ally and valuable asset to, at the end of the day, like, come back to yourself, tap deeper into who you are, where you're going, and like what alignment looks like for you, right? There's all these different tools, whether it's human design, whether it's yoga, whether it's, again, just speaking to someone who has the sort of gifts that she has. But anyways, it was like the week or two before I was leaving to come back to Portugal before my retreat. And I get a call from her out of nowhere. And she's just like, so I've I had a session with a client who I've been seeing for years, and he's a doctor, But, he also does some of this energy stuff, and I've been mentoring him. And anyways, he I was doing a session with him and your name popped up, and he does ketamine also. And I don't know why, but I feel like you guys need to connect. And meanwhile, she had no idea that I had any connection to ketamine assisted therapy, which just a few months prior, I started collaborating with Mackenzie, who's also been on this podcast, to create our own human design ketamine assisted therapy 90 breathwork program that we call the Catalyst. And so I'd been working with it and working with it. And then to have this call from Jessica, I was like, yeah, obviously put us in touch.
And she
Um,
met with Mackenzie last week.
yep.
So now it's all like full circle.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And I remember the call. She called me out. I was at work and I'm like freaking. I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, you have to call this girl right now. I'm like, what? And that's when I reached out to you and I'm like, yeah. She's like, I don't know why, but you guys have to meet and you're thinking good things. I'm like, okay. And I've been seeing Jessica for 8 years and now we're like best friends. I see her probably every weekend now because she's just kind of part of my family now. And probably the best therapist I've ever had, which is so funny because she's, and I think that's what psychics don't get enough credit for is they they guide you in your life. They're not trying to show you what's gonna happen. They're telling you what is aligned to happen right now, but you have full control to change any and all of it. And it's also different. It's also a way for you to look at your life and see what parts of it you're not happy with and what parts you want to change because
Yeah,
you co-create your own universe, your own life every single day.
for sure. And I love what you said about that of like, and the one kind of asterisk I would like to make to what you said is the right psychics
Yeah,
share in
exactly.
that way
Exactly.
of it's not that, we're prescribing that this is what's going to happen. And I do love this about Jessica because, she always like reminds you of that of things can change. Like at the end of the day, you can still make decisions. You can still fuck this up. You can still sabotage yourself. Like this is what I'm seeing, but like there's still a level of like of your free will that has to connect you with this. And I also love as well, she always emphasizes that like she's just a messenger. She has a connection to what she calls spirit dude, to like her angels, and she's delivering information. But again, what you do with that information is up to you.
Yeah, and what I'm as I've and she's mentored me for the last 2 years and taught unlocked a lot of my abilities and stuff like that. And what I'm starting to understand is all she's doing is reading the energy in the current moment. That's all she's doing. It's not like she's predicting the future. It's based on this current energy status. This is what is likely going to happen. However, you make this decision in this way, it will change everything. And half the things that she's told me has gone exactly the way it was supposed to. Like she predicted me being a doctor before I even went to med school. It was kind of wacky. And being an entrepreneur with all the five of these different things going on. And I'm like, there's no way. And here I am doing all that. But then also it was like I was with somebody for a while and we'll get into that later. And it was just like, oh yeah, you guys are gonna get married, have 3 kids. And then a month later, she's like, I don't like her for you. You're gonna leave her because for whatever reason. And I'm like, so things change because of decisions other people make, decisions you make. Um,
Yeah,
but that's also the exciting part of life, I think.
exactly. And I think as well, it's kind of like, right, because you can be at a certain vibration, right, when you're having a session like this or just any point in time. And if you stay at that vibration, your life will look a certain way. But the moment you start to elevate and the moment you start to raise that vibration, well, guess what? Everything around you is also going to change to match that frequency. So in that case with the relationship, it was the same for me. I was in a relationship, um, I guess it was last year. And at that time, because that was where my vibration was at, there were certain things that she was seeing, she was liking it, whatever. And I needed also to hear that. It was a time where I was like, oh, I don't really know what to do about this. I was in my head. And she kind of validated, like, Erin, just trust how you're feeling and like explore this. Granted, it's not the person that I was supposed to be with, but it is a person that was very much someone who needs to be in my life, needed to, and continues to need to be in my life. And had I not pursued the relationship, then I wouldn't be reaping the benefits of this friendship that we now have. And at that time, if I had heard from Jessica, like, no, that's not the person for you, we wouldn't have even developed the friendship that we now have.
Yeah. And everything in life happens to you or for you. So basically it's like the relationship I had it was like it was a really really difficult relationship, but I learned a really valuable lesson about myself and boundary setting and using my voice. And it was a, almost a decade long portion of my life that was really hard, but I wouldn't be here now. And I'll explain my story, but it really shaped who I am today. And before we come into this earth, we choose exactly everything that happens to us in terms of lessons and all this stuff. So it's like I chose to go through all that to learn the lesson that I learned and am learning. So it's all, and that's what people always get caught up in. They get caught up in the idea that these are all horrible things. It's like nothing is horrible. It's all perspective. It's as how you look at life, how you look at these things. It's like you can look at it as horrible, or you can look at it as an opportunity for growth. And because there really isn't only good and bad. It's really just how you approach it. So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good segue again into like, and I'm so happy to have found you and to be able to introduce you to our audience here, because you come from a very different world than the one that you're existing in now. And I would love to hear about that transition, about, that resurrection that you had, that complete pivot as a manifesting generator, right? And yeah, where did you come from and how did you get here?
Yeah. So, well, I grew up out here in Southern California, so I was kind of surrounded by the typical drama, the um, social media, that whole BS. And I did my whole thing. I knew I was going to be a doctor because I was really bad at everything except for science. So sure, why not? My parents were in the film industry, so no ties there. It was very much not my scene. So I went to medical school in Southern California, and at the time I was well, actually, let me start with when I was in college. I lost my dad to cancer, and at the time, my mom was struggling, my sister was struggling, and that's when Jessica came in. My mom had heard of Jessica and was like, "Hey, come do a reading." She's a medium, really, is what her main skill is. So she came, and I was very standoffish, and she even will tell you the story. She's like, "I don't know, you were very much not buying it. You didn't buy in the spirituality, but I knew that there was something there, like energetically. I was like drawn to you." But I couldn't do anything about it at the time. So that's where I meet Jessica. And then throughout the next few years, I kind of just get sessions with her every year or so. And, um, very, very just, I started to open myself up to it because I thought it was kind of cool. And at the time, I was dating somebody right when I graduated college. And it was a great relationship until I went to medical school. We moved in together, and it got really, really hard because just a lot of financial stuff, and a lot of it was taking advantage of me, and I was focused on school. So I was very much in that mindset. And we're seeing Jessica and stuff. So I'm still kind of one foot in the door, but I'm very distracted. I'm very into the medical. I have to be a doctor. I have to do this. So I get through medical school, and I don't, I figured out that I didn't really love any specialty, but I always liked psychology. So I went to psychiatry, and I went to Tennessee, rural Tennessee, and just became a psychiatrist. But my I was still with this girl from before, and it just got worse and worse and worse because we kind of drifted apart, and she, I obviously was busy and she wasn't working and she didn't want to work, so it was a lot of anxiety. And I would um she just, it's almost like she was just like living off of my student loans, and everything I paid for, even though I didn't really have a job. And so I kind of started resenting her and getting upset about that. So what started happening was I would, during residency, I would stay at work late and purposely not go home because of the anxiety, and I would get stressed out and all this stuff, and it was just an awful feeling. And now looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, of course, because the energy was so negative, it was literally killing me. And I remember getting a
And you're the
call.
one with your undefined solar plexus absorbing, amplifying, magnifying
Exactly.
glass to the emotional environment around you.
And keep in mind, I'm working in a mental hospital. So
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
dealing with psychotic patients, addicts, suicide. I mean, this and rural Tennessee. So it's not like cushy LA. It is like the most hardcore poverty. It was rough. And I'm working 120-hour weeks. So I'm like, my body's just falling apart. I get a call from Jessica out of nowhere, and she's like, "Are you alive?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Your spirit's dead. Like you're not I couldn't even feel you. That's how weak you are." And I was at the time really sick. I was anorexic because I was just stressed and not eating and just not taking care of myself, burnt out on stimulants. I was just trying to get a lot stay through. And I was also starting to realize, I'm like, I don't even like this. Like, I knew that what I was doing, because no one was getting better, it was depressing because I'm like, I'm not even helping you. I'm just drugging you. And I started to realize, was this a mistake? Like, am I supposed to be a doctor? Like, was this a complete waste of my entire life, basically? Because it wasn't like I got pressured to be a doctor, but I felt like I had to in a weird way. But I was good at it. So it was like, sure. And I'm dealing with this whole relationship thing. So it was like this whole, like, I don't have an identity anymore. I felt like I was living somebody else's life. Like I was living someone's dream and it wasn't mine. So I didn't know what to do. I was suicidal. I was like literally, like, I would call my mom crying every day because I'm like, I don't have any friends. I don't have anyone to talk to. I can't talk to this girl because I like despise her, and I can't leave her because she would threaten to kill herself. So that was a whole layer. And it was just all these things happening to me. And I'm like, what do I do? And then I had a dream with my dad in it. And I don't remember the dream, but I remember waking up one day and being like, you can either kill yourself right now or completely blow up your whole life and change and just do some pivot and just do something different because this is obviously not making you happy because you have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose. If I was at that point, I'm playing with house money. So I've always wanted to go into practice with my doctor back from home. He's a functional medicine doctor, and my mom's back in LA, so I was like, I kind of just want to go home. So I called him for advice because I'm like, I don't know what to do. Should I drop out of residency, or like, is it a good idea? And he's like, well, if you do, I'd be more than happy to give you a job and help you start a practice out here, and eventually, like, whenever I retire, I could transition the practice to you, and it could help you. And I'm like, done. Like, because that was for me, that's all I needed to hear because that was the only way it would work. I had no money, I had no job, I had nothing. So in that month, I broke up with my girlfriend at the time and I couldn't do it. So I just broke that off, put in my 2 weeks and left residency, dropped out of residency.
Which
And
doesn't happen, right? I
which
remember Mackenzie
nobody
saying,
drops
like,
out of residency.
nobody drops out of residency.
That's not a thing. Yeah. Especially that far. And I had like 2 years left. Like I was almost done. And but I realized I didn't need a board certification to do what I was wanted to do. So I was like, why am I going to be here? This is a waste of my time. So I quit residency, left my girlfriend, sold my house and moved across the country with my dog in my car and just completely left my life and started completely over. And I remember getting in the car and going, and it felt like I had a new spirit. Like it's like that old person died and a new person took over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I get here and it's just every single thing happens fast. I start the practice. I love it. It's the most low stress job. I love the people I work with. I love what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden they mention this ketamine thing. They're like, "Oh, have you ever looked into ketamine therapy? It's pretty cool." And I remember learning about it in residency. I'm like, "No, but I'll try. I'll give it a shot. I don't know." So I kind of wing it. We get the ketamine. I start doing it with people, and I'm like, "Whoa, people are like getting better." So I at first I did it myself with somebody, and I had a massive, that's when it really unlocked a lot for me. it I had a connection with, I had a light being come to me and tell me that, first of all, tell me how proud they are of me and all this stuff, and that my purpose here was to help people raise their frequency and wake up and start to like really like wake up and ascend. And that kind of freaked me out because I'm not into all this spiritual stuff yet. I reach out to Jessica, and at the time I'm talking to Jessica more and more. And then she tells me all this stuff and asks if she could mentor me. And she's like, you're psychic and you have these abilities. Let me help you unlock them and teach you how to use them properly and protection and all this stuff. I'm like, sure. It felt right. It felt right. And I felt so good that I just was like, let's do it. So after my first ketamine, it kind of unlocked my psychic side and let me see I had ego death. I had the whole thing where I just realized I was just part of everything. And that's when my life got even better. My practice improved. The ketamine just exploded. And I felt like I was actually helping people. And it was just seeing people who were hopeless. They were literally coming to me hopeless on their last breath, saying, I, I, I don't know why, but like, I'm not sad anymore. I'm not depressed anymore. And I remember I had a 23-year-old in the very beginning. He, after his first session, he walked out and he told his mom, he's like, that doctor just saved my life. And I was like, I started crying and I was like, okay, that's kind of like the one validation, the one thing I heard that made me realize that this is what I'm meant to be doing. And, I'm sure you've talked about this before, but whenever you're aligned and you're doing what you are meant to do on this earth, everything happens so much in your favor. Like the universe just feeds it to you because it's like finally you're listening to us. You get all the, you get recognition, you get people coming to you, you get support because you're living your life, you're living your purpose. So all that starts happening, and then as I'm unlocking these abilities and all this crazy stuff starts happening, I start channeling people in during sessions with patients, which I've never, because I had never control, I had no clue what was going on. And then I start seeing auras, I start doing all these things start happening and unlocking. And I start getting into Reiki and energy healing, and then I start feeling drawn to start using it with patients. And then it just works. It just, the ketamine opens them up. They get, their body gets all their aura opens up enough where I can see and work in such a safer way, and they feel safe. It's beautiful. And the entire time I'm kind of doing all this under, like not really saying much to people because I'm like, I'm not sure how this is going to be received. I mean, the doctor I work with is super receptive. He's all about all this. He's done ayahuasca. He's very cool. He's just, it's just like, I'm not sure how to explain this to people because I'm not really sure what it is. I'm not sure how it works, but it works and I love it. And at the end of the day, like, I'm just, I love helping people, and that's all I'm doing. So until it doesn't stops working, that's what I'm doing. But
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm now.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy. Again, coming from the medical background and to find yourself where you are now, where you're like, I can't scientifically explain this. Like, you're not going to find this in a textbook. And yet I know that what I'm doing is helping in a way that none of that bullshit was able to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And what would you say, like from a more scientific perspective, what are some of the benefits of ketamine?
Yeah.
Because I know just from a neurological perspective, it's it's incredible.
It is, and I explain it to patients in 2 ways. I'll do the spiritual side, and then I'll do the medical side. So, ketamine works on the neuroplasticity of the brain, and that's probably the biggest benefit that I've seen is it will literally rewire your brain to think in a different way as a default. So, the example I always give is, you're driving down the street and someone flips you off. It's like normally you freak out, you drive up to them, you yell at them, and all that stuff. When normally, I mean, in reality, what does that serve? It serves nobody. But with the ketamine, it's like you start to notice that you don't do those things. Like you'll just wave and smile, or you just blow it off. Like things don't, you don't, nothing escalates ever. Anxiety, you might be stressed about something, but it never escalates to anxiety or trauma or panic ever. Cause it's just, you start to realize nothing, it doesn't matter. So that's probably the most profound effect. Or like fear response, so like with PTSD, if somebody's traumatized from a car accident or something, it rewires their brain in a way that they don't get the same fear response from that same trigger, which is
Mhm.
massive. And then also working on glutamate works a lot with memories. So that's why some people, when you have ketamine sessions, you'll pull on repressed memories. You'll work on, I mean, I pull out memories from when I'm like 4 years old that I'm like, I don't know where this came from, stuff that you don't remember, but your higher self is showing you for a specific purpose. And you might not know what that purpose is, but it's always for your best interest. And it's always in a way that you understand. It's like ketamine's, the crazy thing compared to like SSRIs is it works uniquely to you. It will show you how you need to heal for you, not the model of this therapy or this treatment. It's like, no, that's why everyone's different. Everyone's experience is different. It's like unique. And I think the combination of all these different things, and also you feel you're surrounded by love if you're in a safe place, which is another huge thing. The safe place, safe
Yeah.
space, safe music, people around you that care about you. It's very, very, very important, um, because you're becoming very vulnerable.
Yeah.
um, it allows you to heal. It allows you to want to heal, because I don't heal anybody. All I do is show them how to heal themselves. I show them that they have the power to heal themselves. And whatever it is they choose to do with that's their choice, because they have free will. And that's the beauty of all this. Um, so yeah, I would say that's the most in terms of medical stuff, that's the biggest benefits from the ketamine therapy.
Yeah, yeah, it really is again, and I've tried all the things, I've done everything. And that's what I love about ketamine is that specificity and that way that it's like it's an experience that's, I mean, everything is, right? You do mushrooms and it's going to be very unique to you. But I find as well that it's a much more gentle introduction as well into a lot of these bigger, deeper topics like spirituality. And it can be a really good entryway into expansion. And this is also why I love pairing it with human design, because it's like you are reprogramming the brain and the mind, and our conditioning, our traumas, like the environment that we grow up with has pulled us further and further away from our authentic selves, from our higher selves. Like we're in this like stuck being pulled in two different directions, and it's like human design can give you that incredible blueprint to understand how you're meant to move around in the world, what it is that you're here to do. But sometimes there's still this massive gap between where you are now and actually matching up and aligning with that. And I find ketamine can be such an incredible like tool to merge those two together.
Absolutely. And that's why I think everyone should do ketamine personally, because it unlocks your human is really what it does. We know what all this stuff has been there. We just have to remember. And it's like a key to the doorway of your expansion. And I've had most of my patients will come to me normal, like Western medicine. I've been on all these drugs and stuff. When we're done with the therapy, it's like they're off all their medications. They're the happiest they've ever been. Their lives are improved, and now they're spiritual all of a sudden, whether it's religious or like just spiritual. I mean, any way, whatever resonates with them, their higher connection with source is unlocked.
Yeah.
And human design is basically, okay, now you've unlocked all this. This is the blueprint to how you incorporate this to make your life co-create with your life. This is like your toolbox to co-create your own beautiful world now. Now that you have
Yeah.
the insight, the ketamine gives you the insight, the human design gives you the tools, and then you just build a beautiful life.
Yeah. And to kind of build off of what you shared in the very beginning of how like your approach now to work is like mind, body, spirit. And the way I kind of look at it is like human design is very much for the mind. It's so that your mind can wrap itself around because again, the mind is this like control box and it's really trying to figure out how to keep us safe, how to avoid pain, how to protect us. And oftentimes it's developed these identities or these coping mechanisms to avoid pain that we've experienced in the past, but it also then distracts us from connection to source, from living out our authentic truth, from following our creativity and our passions, right? So,
Yeah.
human design can be something that we can use this system, this framework, this science at the end of the day to feed the mind with information of like, hey, these things that your body intuitively knows to be true, this natural like understanding, it's there. Let's just educate you so that you can calm down a little bit, relax, and let this like higher self come forward. And then you use again ketamine therapy, and there's of course other modalities as well, right? Of just how do we then strengthen the body and the spirit connection so that all of these pieces can work in tandem.
Yeah, and it's like the human design almost like makes the spiritual body palpable, or it like gives the ego a cookie to like understands like here's a you want a blueprint, here's a blueprint, follow this blueprint, this aligns with what your real body wants. And
Right.
it's kind of like a nice little bridge in between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved our session the other week
Yeah,
going through your human design because again, it's like you have lived your design, right? Like you have found your way to alignment even before understanding human design, but it was so cool to see just how, I mean, I can say this with any client, right? Like how spot on this stuff is, but I love the fact that like you really are living it and just to see how that trajectory has naturally, because at the end of the day we don't need our human design because it will just happen so long as we can trust the messages and the signs that we're receiving.
yeah,
And it's not always easy. Like you look at the path that you took and near like being suicidal and being in such a low, but listening to that and trusting that like okay, I'm being pulled in a certain direction, and for you like letting your sacral guide you, letting that like passion, letting that excitement guide you, and look at where it's gotten you.
yeah. And it's so funny because up until a month ago I had no clue what human design was, and I was like, okay, it was almost like validating all the steps that I made in my life. I was living it without realizing what I was doing. But now, the more I followed it, the better my life got and the easier it got. Like, I have never worked so little in my life and been more successful. is the weirdest thing. And that's how it's supposed to be, though. You're not supposed to, work like so hard and not get as anything out of it. It's like human design is supposed to make your life easier. It is. It's like, here is the easiest way for you to live your life, because you understand your tendencies, you understand your pitfalls, but you also understand your strengths and how you function and how to set boundaries and all these different things that people don't really realize are that important. But like for me, it's like boundary setting was the difference between me being in a funk or like thriving. It was like such a huge thing that I never
That
really
is
listened to.
such a good point and something I emphasize with clients so often. It's like the micro decisions, the micro steps that we take, again, like just saying no to an event that like you intuitively feel in your body, like I'm not excited about it, right? Or where your intuition is just like a little bit off. Those micro decisions where your brain could so easily tell you, it's no sweat off my back, whatever, it's one little decision. Those are the tiny little steps that lead to the biggest expansion, the new business opportunity, the income stream, like the new income stream coming in. That's the shit that really matters.
Yeah. And it's also like, I mean, I'll give you an example from the last 2 days. Like I was at, or answering text messages, another big thing. But, I was invited to do something today or something. And yesterday, I was like, no, this is not going to happen. I'm just hard no. So I didn't even respond. I just ignored the text all day. This morning, I woke up, felt completely different about the situation, said, all right, cool, we'll do it next Monday. And boom. It's just like it wasn't aligned at the time. And now it's aligned. It's just, that's the way it is, because whatever it was, like stress or this or whatever, it's like you have to. And I don't know if you have ever listened to Bashar, the channel.
Yeah, a little bit.
He always, the formula, he talks about how you always want to do what's the most exciting to you at that time. And that's not career, that's every decision, every minute of every day. Whether it's,
Hmm.
oh, do I want to go on a walk right now, or do I want to eat right now? Do I want to call this person? Do I want to do this? And the more
Yeah,
you start to just do exactly what you want, your life just explodes with success and happiness and love. And I mean, it's manifestation. It's all these things wrapped in different packaging, but
for
human
sure.
design just gives you the cheat code to your specific
Yeah.
outline.
It just helps you trust it a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this is why this works, you
Yeah.
know?
Or that I'm not
And
weird for being this way. That's a big one.
totally. Yeah. And I remember one thing from our reading that for me was just like so beautiful, because you share about that period of time where it's like you had to burn that old identity down. You had to like fully let it die so that you, in the version that you are now, could be resurrected. And
Yeah.
how that ties into your life purpose, your incarnation cross, the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is all about like burning, like your life has to like that's how your purpose is found,
Yeah.
through letting a part of you die, burning it to the ground, like, and letting something beautiful come from the ashes. And it's so special to see, and it's such confirmation again that you are on your right path, and there's a reason why everything around you is orchestrating so that this can happen, because you are on purpose, you are on your path, and God will literally move mountains for that to continue, and put the right people on your path, and put the right opportunities right in front of you. It's all the little breadcrumbs,
Literally right
and
in
you just
front
have to show up
of me.
and follow it.
And I mean, it would get even to the point of like I couldn't even have a lamp from the old house that I had. I had to get rid of it. It was like the energy. It's the energy of the past relationship, of the past life, of the past career, of the past Michael. And every single thing that I felt and any intuitive pull to get rid of, I had to get rid of it, because it was either a reminder of something, or it was almost like in a weird way a crutch, an energetic crutch. But I have to say, like, the more you start to listen and trust yourself, and that's the biggest thing for anybody, is like trust yourself, because you're never going to be wrong. If you really trust your gut, if you trust your, well, for me, sacral, you're never going to be wrong. Um, but yeah, I mean, opportunities are literally right in front of me. I wouldn't be on this podcast if I wasn't doing what you know what I mean? So it just, and until you, I think for people, it's really important to just trust it in the beginning because it's hard. But then once you see something start happening, it gets easier because you're like, okay, manifesting, this is so easy now because it's just your default because, you see it.
Exactly. It's that trust muscle. And again, when you believe, like it all, manifestation, it's about belief, right? The more you believe, the more it just already is. But that's the hardest thing. Again, we can think, we can write affirmations on a mirror, we can say, I have this, I have that. But if you don't believe it or you don't already feel what that feels like, well, good
Yeah,
luck.
exactly. Then you're living someone else's life or you're living a life that society says you should live. And last
Mhm.
time I checked, most people in society aren't very happy. That's why I
Yeah.
never got people not wanting to be their authentic self because why would you want to be like everyone else? First of all, you'll never be like everyone else, but I wouldn't want to,
Yeah.
you know?
What would you say to someone who's listening who might be on the cusp of a big transition or on like letting go of something, letting an identity die, making a massive pivot? Like, what would you say to them if they're just hesitating on that edge?
The greatest things in life don't come from something not rooted in fear. Fear is only there because it's unknown, but also fear isn't real. Fear is fake. There's nothing behind it, it's the sweater in the closet, not the monster. It's not a monster, but I promise you, once you make that leap, it's just, I endless, endless opportunities, and fear
That's
is what's
amazing.
keeping you where you are, you know?
Totally. And I always say too, the net doesn't appear until after you jump. Once you jump, the net's going to be there. It's going to catch you. But if you're sitting on the top waiting for the net, well,
Yeah, exactly.
have fun.
Yeah. Life's
Yeah.
too
What do
short.
you do besides ketamine? What are some things that you do to help you stay aligned, to help you stay connected to your sacral, to help you, stay connected?
So for me, I actually just recently got more into meditating and I meditate probably 3 times a day now. It's like kind of addicting. Um, just because for me, I always was so caught up in the next moment. When's the next meal? When's the next activity? I'm constantly go stimulated. And meditation forces you to just breathe and just sit and just be. I never really did that. I'm like, I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste time. I was diagnosed with OCD and actually overcame that through ketamine as well. So I don't have OCD anymore. Didn't know that was possible. But it it puts you in a moment of gratitude for your present moment and also a connection with source, with my guides. I talk to my spirit guides all the time. I talk to my higher self all the time. Talk to ETs sometimes, depending on when they're feeling generous. And it just allows you to just be. And it's like a reminder almost. So that's a big thing. I think the other thing is, boundary setting. Like I turn my phone on do not disturb after 6 o'clock at night. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't care if you're my mom. I don't care if you're my friend. I don't care if you're a patient. Like you can wait because if I'm not aligned, if I'm not balanced, you're not going to like the response I'm going to give you. And I'm not going to like the response I give you either. So that's been a huge thing for me. And then also like on the weekends, like having time, just really a lot of it's more time to myself. And that's just a personal thing, I think, for me. I would always try to do other things because I felt obligated to, people pleasing a lot. And that was part of my human design as well. And just being alone a lot and in the best way, because then when I am with other people, I'm myself, I'm loving and supportive. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's that balance we have to strike as two fours, right? It's like let the hermit be the hermit when we need to hermit.
yeah,
But then also recognizing that like if we nurture that time, the time that we get as the networkers, as the opportunists, as the people is so much more rich.
Yeah, and that's probably the I would say the biggest thing, biggest change that I've made, and I make sure I do is whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And just if I don't want to do something, I don't do it. If I want to do something, if today's like I'm going to work out, I'm going to work out. If I don't want to work out, I'm not going to work out. It's just because what will happen is your mind will convince you to do something that you don't want to do because you feel obligated. You're never obligated to do anything. Even things you think you're obligated to, you're not. And the more you start to realize that, you start to like break free of those shackles and realize, whoa, I actually have a lot more control over my life than I thought I did. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Mm, amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. And how can people get in touch with you? Obviously, the work you do is very location kind of
Yeah.
dependent at this moment, but
Yeah. So I have a website, drmichaelnapolitano.com. That I'm also doing, so I do online. So I do telehealth. I'm licensed in California. So if anyone needs a doctor, obviously, I'm more than happy to take on patients. Um, Also, virtual ketamine I can do as well. And I'm also doing spiritual coaching now. Jessica wants me to start mentoring me. So I've been mentoring and I'm doing, yeah. So if anyone's interested in working on spirituality, working on balance, life coaching, whatever it is that you want to reach a higher version of yourself, I'd be more than happy to work with. I'm working with somebody across the country. I mean, across the world. So not really a limit on that one. Um, but yeah, and then my Instagram as well. Uh, Probably, yeah,
I'll link it
yeah,
all in the show notes.
probably a lot easier. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's been such a treat.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.